Hi, Sandy Padilla here, and I'm at Bloom Tea and Coffee in Roseville, and I'm with my friend Judith Monroe today, and she is a wonderful mixed media artist, and I'm going to do an interview with her, and I just can't wait for you to get to know her and her art and her passion and her mission. So, Judith, thanks so much for being with me today.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness, this
My
is going to be fun. This is all about you, baby. So. So now we can kind of just face each other and kind of...
I grew up that it wasn't all about me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's not all about me.
It's not about me.
I guess it can be for a little bit.
Okay, for 2 seconds. So I'm going to point you to her art blog later and some of her websites, and I think one is judithmonroe.com.
Everything now is centralized.
Fantastic.
I finally, instead of having myself in 15 different places or 3 or whatever, judithmonroe.com. Everything's there.
Fantastic. So Judith, I'm wondering, so my first question is, what does being creative mean to you?
What does being creative mean to me? Wow. Gosh. That's a tough one, Sandy. I guess it just means, taking something, for me, inspiration totally comes from what's around me and seeing it in a new way. And then reflecting that. I mean, I started I'm still very strongly based in photography, so it's really about seeing. I think a lot of, especially visual artists, it's about learning to see. So seeing the world that's around me and framing it.
Awesome. And then what kind of creative patterns or routines or rituals do you have in that process?
Oh, wow. Patterns, routines. Doing. Just trying to create art every single day a little bit, but taking a break, too. Actually, yesterday was Sunday, and I had just been working a whole lot. And yesterday I did absolutely nothing, and I went to church, and I read a book with my dogs. It was wonderful.
Did you feel guilty for doing that?
A little.
Talk about that. How did you get through that?
The guilt?
Whatever you were feeling.
I just know from experience that when I stop and take a break and focus on God and then focus on maybe nothing, that it rejuvenates me. And then I'm better in the process, in the long term. I'm healthier, I feel better, I can move on. So taking a regular Sabbath, ideally every week, but honestly not always every week. But then just a routine of working. I mean, if I'm not actively doing something, that's just what it takes.
Absolutely.
It's just kind of self-discipline.
Okay. Ooh, she used the word discipline. Did you hear that, artist?
So self-discipline. Oh, that's scary.
I think that's a fruit of the spirit the last time I checked.
Oh, you're right. Maybe.
Self-control.
Self-control, self-discipline, pretty much all the same creature.
That's why I hit the gym today, so.
Good girl.
Got to keep it up. I'm trying to hit it before the new year, before all that.
Before the new,
exactly. It's my resolution before the resolution.
Easier.
So, as a believing artist, I know you have a strong relationship with Christ. What messages do you believe your art conveys?
I think it's as much about the nature of God. I do, primarily landscapes. And the part, when I had to sit down and figure that out at one point in time, it's like, what am I saying here? Why am I doing this? And what I realized is that when I'm out somewhere, I'm looking for little bits of heaven. That at first I thought I was kind of looking back towards Eden, which was kind of sad because Eden is gone. But then when I was studying more, I realized that meant I was also looking forward to heaven on earth. And so that, sharing God's beauty and glory, but also that relationship. I'm looking for, that peace and that connection. And interestingly enough, a lot of times people say that when they see my work, they feel very peaceful, that it's very calming and soothing. And so, that's an important thing, especially these days, is to be able to connect with God and feel that peace regardless of whatever insanity our lives are bringing to us.
So Judith has been on quite a journey. She's also a teacher and mentor. So who has helped you in your journey become a better artist or grow, change, evolve? And there was a quote by Julia Cameron that says, you can't express yourself until you have a self to express. What do you think of that statement?
You can't express yourself until you have a self to express. Well, obviously, we all have our own selves, definitely. And I guess what you're asking is who's helped me find myself. Wow, a lot of people. I would say, to begin with, my mother. She is also a trained artist. And so one of the things that she did when I was young is she taught me how to do some drawing and mixing paints, and never discouraged me when I would cut up, tiny giblets of paper and build dioramas, and I would make the most incredible messes. I mean, there were projects too, but so just being allowed that creative space when I was young, I think was a really big thing. Of course, I didn't think it was unusual at the time. I thought everybody did that kind of thing. And then, there have been different people along the way. I think it was my very first photography teacher who was like, he just very simply said, you have a good eye, don't stop. So that kind of encouragement is really important. And then there's just been different people who have said, this is good, this is not so good, those kinds of things. Lots of different people.
So how has the church helped you in your art career, or are there, I know this is kind of, this is a loaded question, but we're going to go for it anyway.
Loaded question, oh my gosh.
Because sometimes the church can be a hindrance, but how do we work through that as artists? How do we prayerfully seek to partner with the church as as an avenue to help us or express who we are?
Right.
How have you dealt with that? Has the church helped you or hindered you?
At first, the church, it helped me actually when I didn't realize it was. As an artist specifically, the first time I kind of connected my artwork and my Christianity, oddly enough, was I don't know how many years ago, but certainly I was already an adult. And our church went through, you probably at one point went through the 40 Days of Purpose, Rick Warren's thing. And that was really the first time that I realized, oh my gosh, God made me an artist, which blew my mind. And that I was supposed to use that for him. So, like I said, the church I was in, they had no idea. They were encouraging me to be an artist. I'm not sure they were really excited about that later. But
that's for part 2 later.
It's not everybody is, not everybody in leadership understands the role of the arts, especially if somebody in leadership is very much a different kind of personality. That can be a hard thing for them because artists are kind of crazy people, and
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, we can be scary and subversive and have weird ideas.
Scary and subversive? What you talking about?
So anyway, actually I ended up at a church that was very much encouraging. And but I had kind of done all this groundwork on my own. I had done a lot of studying, like I said, The Purpose-Driven Life. I read a book called Roaring Lambs by Bob Reiner. And because I had been kind of a student in college, the independent study, I had learned how to do that. I just always, when I'm interested in something, I will pursue it. I will go looking for the information. And so that was really what I did. So it was more the church with a capital C in a large sense that encouraged me first. So finding the precedent elsewhere for that, and then I did find the church I'm going to now, that's very encouraging and helpful in my role as artist. So now hopefully I'm doing the same for other artists where they don't have to go hunting outside so much.
Can you talk about Haven for a minute and what you do there, and just invite people?
Sure. So Haven is a creative arts ministry at Bridgeway Church in Rockland, and it's a place where people can come about once a month to get hands-on activities, and so that's one of the things I help lead. And then also Haven has kind of been branching out as a form of that. I also coordinate and lead, sometimes that word scares me, a group of live painters. So we have live painting in our services, not on a super regimented schedule because we're all artists. And like every third Sunday, I mean, Haven meets that way because it's easier to keep track of. Haven is the third Sunday of the month.
And what time?
At 1:30 to 5:30.
You're all invited.
You are all invited, absolutely. But then the live painting is, every 4 to 6 weeks. I mean, it's totally dependent on what the message is. And I also, as part of Haven, I've started once a year, I lead a group of artists in a study that's called the Creative Call. And that's really helping people discover that their creative gifts are from God, which I had to take this long kind of circuitous route to get there, but this is very specifically about our creative God and how He has made us creative and how we can use our gifts for His glory. So it's very exciting, actually, to help other people find that out.
Love it. Love it. What inspires you and helps you keep going?
What inspires me? I am inspired generally by nature and the beauty that's all around me. What helps me go on is I came to the realization a few years ago that if I'm not creating artwork, I am just not a nice person, actually. My husband helped me discover that during a period of time when I had 2 small toddlers, and that was pretty much all I was doing. And he very kindly came to me and said, "What is the matter with you, and why are you so horrible to live with?" And I didn't know. That was the thing. At the time, I really didn't know what was the matter. And so we had this really lengthy conversation. And it came down to the fact that I wasn't doing anything creative. Mm-hmm. And so I just know for me to be healthy and happy, I have to be creating. And so understanding that about myself makes it very easy to go, okay, I just have to create all the time. And so, so that people like me. So that I'm nice to other people.
Judith, we don't just like you, we love you. Don't we just love her? Oh my gosh, you're just being so real with us. Thank you so much.
I don't know how to not be real.
What's your favorite season of the year and why?
Oh, I'm a summer person. I love the crazy hot summers here in Sacramento, because I really don't like being cool. There's something good in all the seasons. I just, it's easy to be outside. The heat doesn't bother me as much as some people. Though I'm going to be a total artist, but I really like spring when everything gets green, and I like all the pretty colors in the fall. So.
Now, speaking of green, you have a lot of green in some of your art pieces, and it's sphagnum moss, that really bright green. Talk about that, and what does that represent in your life?
Well, green always represents growth. I mean, here in California, and I was born and raised here, spring is green, and the rest of the year, pretty much it's not. And so it's new and it's rebirth, and there's the whole how we're new in Christ. I actually have a piece that when I was painting it, I didn't realize what I was doing. God can be funny that way. But I was painting these red lines on the piece, and then on one side of the vertical line it was kind of more warm tone, and on the other side it was green. And I realized that I had done these lines, they were red, and I almost never use red. And it was a prophetic piece about this is how I do Christmas. It was this tree with a sprout coming out, from the root of Jesse. So it looked nothing like anyone else's Christmas piece ever would look. And then these two red lines, and I realized that they were a cross where Christ had shed his blood, and on the other side of the red, on the other side of the cross, it was green, and that was new life. Actually, when I was standing there in the studio and I saw what I had done and realized, I was totally speechless. I'd probably start crying if I recall. It was just so amazing. It's sometimes it's all God and the Spirit, and it's not about me, which is really cool. It's very exciting, actually, when it's not.
So what is the biggest myth you've ever busted about yourself?
Myth I've busted about myself?
For example, my art's not good enough, like I suck. What's like the biggest myth you've ever busted about yourself?
Actually, I think the biggest myth that's out there about me has to do with everyone seems to think I'm incredibly organized. And apparently from the outside, this is how it looks. But there was something, I can't see if I can even remember, there was something I had done just recently that totally showed, I was just telling you about the gallery in Scottsdale. So this incredibly organized artist went to the gallery, and I'm giving them this work. We agreed that I would leave them work, and they're like, so how much is this piece? And I was like, I left my price sheet in the motel. I'm going to have to go back and look it up. I'll be back. Give me 10 minutes, and I will be back. I will tell you how much that art is. And actually, that day, that morning, I was back and forth between the art gallery, not just twice, but I believe 3 times, because then I'd forgotten something else, and it was, suddenly I did not look very organized at all. Thankfully, they really liked my artwork, and we had already made a personal connection, and they were totally understanding.
All right, this is where you heard it first, folks, on Behold the Beauty blog. We've busted this myth about Judith Monroe. She is not an organized artist. I don't know what artist is organized. Do you know? Are there some artists that are organized? They're in a whole other category. I'm sorry.
I think they're just like me, and they look like they're organized from the outside.
Did you hear that? They look like they're organized. So we can all go ahead and pretend that we are organized, because that'll work. So anyway, this myth has been busted by Judith Monroe herself on Behold the Beauty. Okay, next question. What underappreciated artist, gallery, or work do you think people should know about?
Underappreciated artist, gallery, or work? Oh my gosh. That's a hard one. Besides me?
Yeah. This is where you plug your friends, and then they love you and give you lots of big Christmas presents right now. So just a hint.
I see.
I'm just kidding.
I think actually there is a friend. She is growing in appreciation, but she has a little teeny tiny shop. Her name is Susan Rabinovitz, and her shop is Little Relics, and it's down in Midtown Sacramento. On 21st Street near I. You would never know it from the outside. Susan has an amazing, beautiful, she does jewelry. This isn't hers. Isn't it? This ring, she's making, I love Susan. And she has, it's really cool. She does a lot of things, and she shows not just her own jewelry, but she shows a lot of other artists. And it's just this tiny little shop down in Midtown Sacramento that,
What's it called?
Little Relics.
Little Relics.
On 21st, near I, just south of I. If you Google Little Relics Sacramento, you will find her.
That's awesome. She's going to love that little mini commercial right there.
Good.
Okay, and our last question is, where would you like to be 10 years from now?
So I guess you mean whatever.
Whatever. Sky's the limit.
Sky's the limit. Well, I really like being in Sacramento. Sacramento's my hometown, and I can live wherever I want.
She's not going away.
But I would like to be making an actual living from my artwork. I think I want to be able to be in a lot of different galleries so that I'm making a decent living. I don't need to be rich, but that's always been my goal, is to be able to live off of my artwork and be known for being let's say a national artist of faith, but not just being in faith-based. Oh my God. Not face-baked,
Face-baked.
Yeah, something like that.
I know, you're thinking about baking pies and Christmas cookies, all that stuff, right? Faith-baked.
I don't bake. I create art, but I don't bake.
You don't bake?
I can, but I choose not to.
I think I need to come over to Judith's test kitchen in your studio, and then we'll bake some of your art. We'll put it in the oven.
I have done shrinky dinks.
Oh, we'll do some shrinky dinks at your studio. So that's so cool. Well, thank you so much for spending this time. I'm gonna give you so cool. And Judith. There's the biggest myth about me, is that I can talk. Judith has invited me to her studio, so I think we're going to do part 2 very soon of this, and maybe we'll have some Christmas carols and some jingle bells in the background. I don't know. I'm thinking this is a holiday theme.
I see.
I think with some Christmas cookies and some dough art.
Are you going to bring some Christmas
I'll bring some dough, and we'll make some dough art and make some frames for your pictures. I don't know.
The dogs will try to eat it.
So anyway, thank you so much for being with us on Behold the Beauty Blog, and stay tuned because we have more exciting artists and topics coming up. So God bless you.